Welcome back. British Prime Minister Theresa May is embarking on an Africa tour and is scheduled to visit Nigeria on Wednesday. According to the British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Paul Arkwright, the Prime Minister will discuss partnership on trade, security and tackling modern slavery and human trafficking. Mrs. May will meet President Muhammadu Buhari in Abuja and spend time in Lagos meeting victims of modern slavery, a cause she has worked passionately to tackle. This is her first visit to the continent as Prime Minister, and she's the first British Prime Minister to visit sub-Saharan Africa since 2013. She will also be visiting Kenya and South Africa. South Africa's Minister for International Relations and Cooperation, Lindiwe Sisulu, has been clearing the air on the story surrounding a vessel loaded with explosives which was seized off the coast of Port Elizabeth. Minister Sisulu says she has discussed the matter with the Russian authorities in the country, who confirmed the said vessel named Lada is Russian. On Friday, South African authorities had detained a cargo vessel suspected of carrying illegal arms that was said to be headed for Nigeria and the United States. The explosives and weapons, reportedly valued at about 50 million rand, were discovered following a tip-off after the ship had offloaded 14 containers at the port. The Orcs, a South African criminal investigative organization, say they have commenced an investigation into the incident.
The ship that was impounded is a private ship owned by a company called Transflot. It was transporting explosive for mining purposes for South Africa and various other countries, including Nigeria. They had the necessary permit to enter South Africa, but they did not have the necessary permit to transit through South Africa with the explosives because their handler did not have the necessary work done. They have since taken the decision to get another handler who will make sure that the permits allow them to go through to the next country. Now, the reason why these are called weapons of mass destruction is that the law by which we impounded these in South Africa is called weapons of mass destruction. Otherwise, these are weapons that are used for mining purposes, they're explosives, and because of their dual purposes, we needed to make sure that there was necessary permit for them to be exported further to another country. But we use them for civilian purposes, they were exported for civilian purposes, and they are used for mining.
Over 100 migrants in Italy have finally disembarked from a rescue ship that had been docked at a port for 5 days. The migrants had been stranded in the port of Catania because the government refused to let them off the boat until other EU states agreed to take some of them in. However, this new development ends a bitter standoff between Rome's anti-establishment government and its EU partners. Before the breakthrough, about 13 migrants were ordered off the boat by doctors after a checkup was carried out. Italy's Interior Minister Matteo Salvini, who has led a popular crackdown against immigration since taking office, is under investigation for abuse of office, kidnapping and illegal arrest. A surge in ethnic violence along border areas of West Guji in Ethiopia has driven nearly 1 million people away from their homes. According to the International Committee of the Red Cross, the unrest is causing a strain on healthcare centers. Here's a situation report of the affected areas.
Tens of thousands of Ethiopians remain displaced, and nearly 1 million more people have been added to that number in the past 4 months after a surge in ethnic violence in Ethiopia's southern Gedio region. Many of them are taking shelter in schools, factories and courthouses. The fighting, sometimes in the form of mob attacks and inflaming tensions between ethnic groups in other regions, has left dozens of camps filled with people who fled violence between the Oromo and Gedio ethnic groups.
We came here because we were attacked. We left our village empty-handed to save our lives. We traveled and spent 3 days in the bushes to get here.
The violence threatens to undermine Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's call for unity in one of Africa's most ethnically diverse countries. It also overshadows the popular liberal measures he's announced since coming to power in April. 42-year-old Abiy rode the wave of anti-government unrest that originated in his Oromia region. He was appointed by the ruling Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front as it sought to ease ethnic tension and appeal to disaffected youth. Some observers say young men from Abiy's ethnic group, the Oromo, have been emboldened by his rise and are attacking other groups in revenge for years of marginalization. In the camps, families live in difficult conditions, and many say they often lack food and clean water, putting them at risk of malnutrition and disease. Children have been forced to sleep on the floor with no blankets or mats. The ICRC and the Ethiopia Red Cross Society are working to improve basic living conditions and health services by distributing blankets, sleeping mats and water, as well as medical supplies.
We've seen health centres in the area faced with an enormous problem. They were working okay, but suddenly they've got more than double the population coming in, and many of those people are coming in are sick already. So we've been providing them with additional basic medicines to enable them to treat as well as they can those who are sick. We've done some upgrades on the water supply in the main areas where you've got concentrations of IDPs, of displaced persons, just to enable, a supply of clean water to be accessible to people.
The influx of displaced people has also put a heavy strain on host communities, many of whom were already struggling with food insecurity. The Ethiopian government has, however, denied turning a blind eye. Federal Disaster Management Chief Mutiki Kasa says nearly 400 people in Oromia have been arrested on suspicion of inciting violence between Judiyos and Oromos.
Let's take you now to Egypt, where adventurer and space travel fanatic Omar Samra is determined to be the first Egyptian in space. Here's his story.
Egyptian adventurer Omar Samra has returned from a lunar simulation mission focusing on research in human factors in space. On the 49th anniversary of the moon landings, Samra was chosen to be part of the Team Spectra, a team of 5 analog astronauts who conducted 40 research projects over 2 weeks in complete isolation. The facility was built to demonstrate what a space habitat would feel like and is completely isolated from the environment. Its infrastructure allows the constant monitoring of the health and behaviors of the crew. The mission's goal was to provide insights in human traits essential for a future lunar settlement.
I have different responsibilities, on top of which was being in charge of the mission's entire schedule. We were there for 15 days, and for those 15 days, we were completely isolated from the sun. We ate dried food. No vegetables, no fruit, nothing but dried food. One very important element is the psychological side. You put 6 individuals in a very small space. We live in an army-style unit. All the beds are next to or above each other for the period of 15 days. There is little privacy. You sleep for 4 hours per day and work for 16 to 20 hours.
During the mission, different experiments were conducted, including ones that used virtual reality technology.
Good luck to him. Thank you for watching. I'm Teniola Shibowale.